Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. My name is Julian Williams. I'm here today with a special guest of mine, a colleague of mine, and a good friend, Corey Andrews. Corey, how you doing today?
Great, Julian. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be on the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll dive kind of right in. First and foremost, let's give them a little bit of background of who you are, how you got into the trading space, and just your background a little bit, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. So I've been on a couple different episodes here and there, so maybe some people have heard my story, but I'll share it with you again today. I started out in traditional brokerage. I have about 15 years of traditional brokerage sales experience, both retail and institutional. So I've spoke with a lot of traders over the years. After college, I wanted to get into something in the markets. I've always been drawn to the markets. I've been a market participant since I was about 16. My dad opened a small account for me when I was a kid, and we'd dabble in it. And I just took a liking to it. And after college, I was looking for something, and I landed at a full-service brokerage firm, like a Merrill Lynch, so to speak, and dealing with clients that were not necessarily new to the market, but high net worth clients. And I did real well there, and it was a good time. But then I wanted to go something a little more self-directed, where I could interact with active traders more. And I ended up at a national brokerage firm where I really flourished. And I was there for 15 years in, like I said, traditional brokerage. And there I was able to really help traders. We'd talk about trading plans and risk management and kind of how to navigate the markets, how for them to become successful. Because a lot of people, that's their question. What do I do? Where do I start? How do I go? And we'd come up with ways and plans for them to be successful. We'd give them all the tools they needed. And I could help with anything. I could help with charting, data, pricing, add different assets to trade. But the one thing I could never help traders with was access to trading capital. And this is something we got questions about all the time. I've got a trading plan. I've got a strategy. It works. It works well. I just don't have access to capital. What can you help me with? And for the longest time, I had to just turn them away. I said, well, there's really no avenue for me to assist you with that. And then one day I got a call from a client who said, hey, listen, I want you to come check out this opportunity. It's disruptive in the space. It's a way for us to allow traders to trade with our money up to a certain amount and keep the profits. So it was kind of the answer I was looking for all these traders who didn't have access to money. And that's how I joined Surge. And that's the mission we're on, giving profitable traders access to institutional capital and splitting the profits with them.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I appreciate that background there. And that will kind of roll me into the next question. Can you give us a little bit of a synopsis of what a prop firm is? What is SurgeTrader?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was something I even had trouble, grappling with when I first heard about it, because it was so foreign to, just regular brokerage. And it really took some time for me to understand it, and some arm twisting because I was so set in my ways. But once I kind of, opened my mind and decided that it's something I wanted to learn about, it just made so much sense. So essentially what a prop firm is, it's a way for somebody to trade with institutional or somebody else's money and capitalize on the profits. So essentially what happens is somebody comes into Surge and they purchase an audition. We put them in a demo account and we ask them to hit for a certain amount. Essentially, we're looking for a 10% increase on the account. And once they achieve that, we'll put them in a live account with real money, our money, and we send them into the market. There are trading rules, and we'll kind of get into the specifics of it as we go. But as long as they trade within those trading rules and they're profitable, they can continue drawing profits out of their account into perpetuity. So it kind of solves the big problem that many people have with trading is, I don't have access to trading. I don't have access to money. This puts them in the game, allows them to be on more of an even field with other players, sometimes even institutional players.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So like you said, just to kind of, allow the viewers to be clear, it's like, otherwise you would have to have how was it back in the day when you first started? You needed to have, 40, 50, some substantial money to get in there to see the kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. There's in traditional brokerage, there's day trading limits. So unless you have $25,000, you can't day trade. Unless you have X amount, you can't short. Unless you have a certain amount, you can't have margin. This kind of solves all of those problems. So all of our accounts are day trade eligible, margin eligible, shorting eligible. Many of our assets trade around the clock. So for people who work, they could trade on the overnight. So this really opens doors to people that just weren't able to participate in the markets before.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Very good. Well, now, Corey, and you can speak on this because of your expertise, like you said, in your time in the industry. How does SurgeTrader compare to some of the other firms and other companies out there? What makes us stand apart from some of these other?
Yeah, great question. Because they're so right now, prop space is really having a bull run. There's people getting in very quickly. There's a lot of players. There's new ones coming to the market every day. And we've kind of taken a slightly different approach as we build out the company and when we continue to grow. And that's going to be a long-term approach. So, we offer slightly more conservative rules than some of the other firms. We're not the absolute rock bottom cheapest, although we're very competitive. So we're looking to offer somebody something that they can count on that's going to be here for a long time. So long-term time horizon, definite transparency. So when you come to Surge, you know exactly what you're going to get. All of our leadership, you know who they are. The rules, they're well stated. They're not going to change on you during the course of the trading time. So everything is going to be transparent and just putting our best foot forward as far as business practices go. And that's really set us apart in this industry.
Nice, very good. Now, if I'm I'm saying it a little bit out of kind of give them the viewers obviously an overview. This is a one-step challenge, correct? Versus some of these other firms.
That's a very important part. So most other firms are going to be multi-step. So there's going to be 2 stages to the audition where you pass one stage. Sometimes you have to pass an equal amount on the next stage. Sometimes it's slightly less. A lot of times there's a time limit associated with the audition where you have X amount of days to make your returns. With Surge, there's no time limit, and it's a single stage audition. So essentially, once you jump in, you're in the account, you're trading for your 10% profit. You can take as long as you need. In fact, I spoke with somebody recently. Took her 2 days. She was an expert trader, and she was able to hit that 10% very quickly, and she graduated onto the live account. I spoke with a gentleman a couple weeks back. It took him over 3 months. Essentially, he works full time. He doesn't have time to trade every day, but he's able to use the platform nonetheless because the rules cater to pretty much anybody across the board.
Okay, nice. So you would say overall, is there a, kind of a level of excitement, that's in this new space? Like you said, it's in its infancy for sure. People don't have to come to the markets necessarily with all this capital and just go, hey, I'm trying to learn this trading space as it once was. Talk a little bit about that because it's brand new.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So like I was saying earlier, once people kind of understand it and we are able to, clearly explain it to them, their eyes just light up. They say, wow, this is what I've been looking for. This is so great. And one of the things that I was most surprised by when I first came to Surge, because I knew we'd be able to help the low end, the people who didn't have access to trading capital. I was so surprised by how many people we were able to help on the high end, high net worth clients.
Yeah.
And so, for example, they're using their personal capital for higher and better uses, their business, real estate. It might be sometimes it's in an IRA, 401k. They can't access it readily. They're putting it into their kids' education, their education. Why trade with their $1 million when they could trade with our $1 million? And it's such a bolster for them as well to be able to go out into the markets with our money, have a limited and predefined risk profile, and participate in the markets with big players.
Very nice, very nice. The old saying is OPM, right? Other people's money.
That's right, exactly. And that certainly holds true here.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. We'll move right along here. Well, let's talk about Surge, right? SurgeTrader. And let's talk about, the events that we're always doing, things like that. Talk about the energy that's always in the room. If you want to kind of explain some of the.
Absolutely. So leadership is always important, right? You want to be part of a good team. And one of the things that Surge has done building out the team was finding specialists. So there's not a huge team. It's not, several hundred people, but the people who are here really carry a lot more weight than you would imagine. So we have a very high performance team here, and we're always doing really cool stuff. As you can see, the office we're in right now, just look at it. Who wouldn't want to be there? And we do cool trading events there, live events there. We've got quite a stable of very cool performance cars that we're always doing fun stuff with, traveling, bringing traders in, bringing affiliates in, team members. So all sorts of cool stuff we do with the Surge community, and we're looking to grow that portion of it as well. Because one of the things I found over the years is community is key. So I know you're big in the Discord, and we have a very active Discord. Trading is a very solitary business. I mean, if you don't have somebody to bounce ideas off of, or somebody just to say, hey, take a look at this. I can't tell you how many times I was sitting in a trading room with colleagues and say, hey guys, check out this setup coming up. And somebody told me, that's a terrible setup, and saved me. So having a trading community, whether it's on Discord, whether it's on live, whether it's, there at the Surge pit where our traders are, it's so important to further the success of a trader.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, community is definitely a lonely road for sure. During the process of you trying to figure it out and knocking your head up against the wall and trying to, build out your own trading plan and that sort of thing. And which we'll dive into obviously, in a little bit here and what it takes to become a successful trader and get over, that hump there. But with the experience that you have, again, back on that, because I think that's invaluable. People need to realize with the kind of time you've been in the market, you've seen it with the markets today, with the uncertainty as you see on Market Watch, as you see on Bloomberg, all that kind of stuff. What do you see what's happening in today's climate conditions? Should it worry the day trader? Is there opportunity still? Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we go into these, this next term of the market, we'll call it, there's probably going to be less opportunities for the traditional, a buy and hold trader or the 60-40 portfolio. And people are going to have to actually get out there and cut their teeth and start making smart trading moves. So you're going to have to manage your risk on your own. As things get more choppy and more uncertain, traders themselves need to take it upon themselves to protect that capital, because that's the main thing. If you can't protect the capital, you don't want to lose your money. That's what you've got. So that's going to be very important going to this next phase of the market. But there's going to be some serious trading opportunities. I mean, we're going to go ahead and start. Who knows where the market's going, but it's always a good market for somebody. Absolutely. If you know how to read those charts and you know how to put in your support and resistance, and you have a trading strategy and a trading plan then, in my opinion, the most important part, your risk management setup. So if you have your trading strategy, your trading plan, and your risk management, and you have the discipline to follow those, you could be a successful trader in previous markets and, of course, this upcoming market. But yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for a lot of great opportunities this upcoming market for traders, both new and experienced.
Nice. Very good. Well, that kind of, like I said, was the next 1A, 1B question I want to ask you, which is for those of you who are watching, who are maybe brand new, getting into it, who are like, what is, a prop firm? What is trading in and of itself, right? They're like baby pip stage, they're trying to figure it out. Is this only for the experienced trader, or is this for somebody who can also be brand new in it?
That's a great question. We get that a lot. We have people who are always wanting or interested in becoming market participants at all levels. We certainly help the people who have pre-established knowledge in the markets, but we take so many people on who are brand new. And one of the nice things about SurgeTrader is, like we talked about earlier, there are those pre-established rules. You have a maximum daily drawdown and a maximum overall drawdown on the account that you must follow by. There's a couple other rules as well, but those are the two big ones. For somebody who's brand new, who hasn't traded before, they have a propensity not to have a set of rules. They don't have structure in their trading. They don't have a trading plan. The fact that we kind of give them these guide rails on the road of trading, they must trade within those. It kind of almost forces them to become have good habits. Yeah. We're going to make them have good habits, where somebody who might not have that, you always hear they've blown up account after account after account, and those are full value accounts. Yeah. So having those guide rails is going to help new young traders establish good habits from the onset.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, like you said, I can still remember the time when, I first started out, and, we'll dive into this obviously a little bit more as we go, which is no trading plan, no rhyme or reason as to we get it. You and I have obviously had conversations in the past, which is just like, I don't know why my P&L looks like this. And,
right, of course.
And the bottom line is with a trading plan, with purpose, with a journal, things like that, it just makes it so much clearer, so much easier. But it's hard to kind of change. It's like this conundrum because you're in the 9-to-5 cubicle. I use that as an example of just your normal daily. If I'm putting more time in past when my, when I clock out, so to speak,
right.
My boss or superior is going to notice that, and hopefully that leads to a raise, or I'm making more money.
Sure, of course.
Whereas in the markets, a lot of times, probably more times than not, less is more, as you can probably attest to. It's like back testing is important. Looking at one pair is important, so you can really master and see how it floats. But it's kind of crazy. Like you have to get to that acceptance. I'm saying, mentally, and then that's why it's such a psychological game, as you know.
Mindset. It's all mindset. I could walk up to somebody I've never met before and ask them 3 questions about their trading plan, and I know exactly what kind of trader they are. I know what their P&L looks like, and I know what their future prospects hold. And it's just, over the years, I've spoken to so many traders, and there's definitely a line in the sand, the profitable traders versus, traders who are trying to become profitable or approaching profitability. And it's basically, if they can clearly articulate their trading plan their risk management rules and their mindset, I know, wow, he's on the road to success. Those are the intangibles,
Yeah.
much more so than the strategy itself. It's those other things around it. What are you doing with it? How
Yeah.
does that relate to your trading that make the trader profitable?
Right.
And I always tell people the folks who go off their plan. So they say you've got a good trading plan, but you see a setup that you like, and you lean into it, but it's not on your plan, and you have a big win. Those are the most dangerous trades, because now you've got that adrenaline. You feel great, like, man, it's just so easy. I could do this, right? I'm sure I've had them. We've all had them. But those are dangerous, because now you think you're infallible, and then the next time you see a setup like that, you'll take it again, and the majority of those are not going to be successful, and that's how you end up blowing out an account.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll kind of switch speeds a little bit here, Corey. Let's talk about the affiliate program. A lot of people
certainly.
who maybe currently are trading or want to get into it, or go, I actually have a lot of buddies who, want to get into trading. Talk about that a little bit and how they.
Yeah, absolutely. So Surge is a phenomenal affiliate program. We offer 20% commissions on all initial auditions. So we have people who are, friends and family. Say a guy wants to refer his wife, his kid, we'll pay you 20% on the revenue of those accounts that open up. Let's say you have something a little broader. You have a trading education school. You're teaching people trading, and you want to incentivize getting them into the market. You want to partner with a highly reputable firm that's going to be here for the long term. Give us a call. We'll chat about it. We'll get you set up on a program that works for you. A lot of times we work specifically with content creators. There's a lot of great people out there who are creating trading content, and we'll pay referral fees on their referrals as well. And then a lot of people out there are professional affiliate marketers who are actually they either have review sites, they're sharing trading ideas with people. We work with a lot of them also. So if you have a trading community, or traders, or you're just looking to make some extra cash on the side, give us a call. We'll get you set up with our affiliate program, and it's a great way to make some extra capital, particularly to supplement your trading income.
Yeah, absolutely. So those of you who are watching that, get on that ASAP. I've actually had a couple people who've reached out to me on direct message. They may be watching it today. If you are, you know who you are, who have asked me, how do I get people from, different countries, things like that? How do I, refer them? And so it's great. Obviously send them to you, have them go to our website, obviously, go to the affiliate, link, and then that way they can kind of get plugged in. And one thing that I know that both you and I are proud of is our customer service is spectacular. We're always
Absolutely.
there. We're not, somebody that, hey, 7 days later, nobody's responded to.
Yep, of course. US based.
Exactly.
You'll be able to talk to somebody on the phone. You can give us a call. We'll answer the phone.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about, the trading plans a little bit, because I think that for the traders who are new and for those who are experienced, I think this is a good refresher for those who are doing it, those who aren't. Talk about the things through your experience and through your lens, what you've seen, like you said, those who are successful, what they need in order to implement moving forward to be successful, what people are missing when they're
right. Absolutely.
Kind of
absolutely.
the
So
traders.
It's really not that difficult. The structure of it, it's simple, but it's not easy. Yeah. So that it's the mindset, it's discipline, being able to do it the same way every day. You really have to make a decision. Kind of like, for you, like working out, like you have to show up, you have to be there, and you can't just be there putting in reps. You actually have to go every day and give it your all, and give it your best. And that's where, that really separates the men from the boys, so to speak, and who's going to be there in long term. But essentially, you've got to decide what kind of trader you want to be. And there's all different types of traders. You have your swing traders, your scalpers, you have your long-term traders, your day traders. So find something that fits your lifestyle, fits your thought process. For example, somebody who's works a 9 to 5 every day, maybe they're not going to be able to trade the same way that a scalper would, who could sit at the screen, for 4 or 5 hours a day. So you got to find something that fits the exterior part of your life. If you've got a family, you got to find something that works. Next, you got to build a strategy around it. Essentially, what that would be, what am I going to base my rules off of? My entries and exits. Am I going to use support and resistance? Am I going to use am I going to be a continuation trader? Am I going to be a reversion to the mean trader? So you got to find a strategy that works for you. You've got to develop a trading plan with rules. And that would essentially be, when X happens, I'm going to do Y. When Y happens, I'm going to do X. And these are going to be hard rules. So it's entries, once your setups are there. And then, of course, exits, protecting your losses. So if I'm coming up against a stop loss, I need to not be emotional and add more to that position or lower my stop loss to take a bigger hit. I need to follow those rules that I've set up when in a very non-emotional setting. Now that I'm in front of the screen, so those rules are there to protect me. And then the following, once you've got those three things, you're going to want to start small, which essentially is where everybody should start. They're going to want to take small, bite-sized nibbles. A lot of people say to do this in a simulator account, so it's paper money. I find the problem with a simulator account is you don't have the same emotion as you would with a live account.
Yeah.
So you're not getting the same feeling. You don't know how you would react. It's paper money. I've seen guys take a simulated account from $0 to $1 million
Yep.
in no time. They go to a live account and it's gone in just as fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So starting small, journaling your trades. So for example, a lot of people always hear about journaling. This is one of those these exercises that isn't sexy. It's not that fun, but it really is great for you to look back on, because it's hard to remember what was my sentiment at the time. What was I feeling? What was I thinking about this trade? What was I expecting it to do? And now you have an actual tablet of items that you could look at, and you could go back to all of your losing trades and say, what was the commonality of these trades? Did I follow my trading plan? Did I break my rules? And you could start eliminating things that are detrimental to your trading. So say, for example, even something like, hey, all the trades I take at the market open, if I don't wait till 9:35 or beyond, all my first market trades are all losers. I'm going to strike that from my trading plan right away and say, this isn't working for me. And now I've just increased my overall profitability dramatically. And then once you've kind of got some consistency, you want to scale up slowly. So you don't want to go from 1 pip to 1,000 pips right away. You want to start slow, incremental, because it's that same mindset problem with the simulator to live. You don't know how you're going to react to doubling your risk or doubling your profit. Doubling your profit, again, it gets people euphoric. So having a predetermined level, knowing what your profit's going to be, knowing how you're going to react to it, it's all going to play into your trading plan. And then as time goes on, you could begin to develop more of a discretionary trading plan and less, slightly less rules. But initially, when people are starting out, having that trading plan kind of set in stone is so important for their success failure rate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that resonate with me, and like you and I have talked about multiple times, which is you don't realize until you start journaling, until you start, really having, hard-nosed rules that, like you said, your sentiment. I mean, I've gotten to the point where, like you said, I'm not only journaling what, I'm seeing in the markets, but also how I'm feeling.
That's important.
Like, It's crazy how that correlates. I mean, I'm happy that I'm happy in my relationship, but let's just say, as a example, my girlfriend and I get in a big fight or something like that, or, I'm just not in a mood, or I'm under the weather or something like that. I'm feeling sick. And like you said, that changes my whole perception on what I see in the market, which is crazy.
Important those externalities.
It makes it big difference.
Absolutely. It could be anything. We drank too much alcohol last night.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think
exactly what you're feeling there, and it's going to be super important.
Because those are things that make the difference. For people who want to stay in and do this full time.
Right.
I think it's easy. Like I've talked to, my followers and those who are viewing, they've obviously heard me say this a bunch of times, and you can attest to these things, which is it's easy to look at the end result and compare yourself. Social media is like that double-edged sword where it's like, now you're just comparing yourself with the guys gals who have done it for 10 plus years, who are, banking big, 5-6 figure days. And they're like, well, all they can do is compare. Well, now back to your point, I've only made 5 pips or 10 pips. What's my problem? Oh, all I got to do is just lot up. I just need to take.
Right. That's where people really need to focus on the process and not the outcome. So, that dollar amount is going to get there as they get further down the road. But the process on how I'm going to do that and do that consistently is so much more important than the dollar amount in the initial stages.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Corey, I want you to kind of dive into, if you don't mind, some of the conversations you and I have had, because I think this is really going to resonate with a lot of folks here who are watching, which is, you told me one time a gentleman who, wasn't necessarily working the flashiest job, right? Who ended up being one of the more successful traders that you've ever seen. And I think that this is an encouraging word, for folks who and I said this a couple days ago on my Instagram live, at 9 a.m. in the morning. I said, guys, you don't need to be a PhD holder. You don't need to be a college graduate in order to be. There's some of the most successful traders who are maybe watching this now who are like, yeah, I didn't do any of those things, and are making a killing and are able to provide for their family. They have not only financial but time freedom back. They get to do what they want to do, life on their terms. So dive into that a little bit, because I think it's going to be really good for people to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So in my journeys, like I said, I've talked to thousands and thousands of traders, and I've learned their stories and what sets them apart and what's made them great and what some of their troubles were. And I definitely have a few handful of stories that really resonated with me over the years. And one of them was, it kind of goes to my theory on why trading plan and having rules is so important. And this was a gentleman who, like you said, didn't have a flashy job. Actually, he was a pylon setter, which for fencing, he put in these pylons at a certain depth, at a certain length, for just all day. He basically, that was his job. And he had a playbook and a checklist, and he showed up and he set a pylon. It was a certain depth, it was a certain height, and it was plumb, and he moved on to the next one. And if there was a problem, he had a playbook for that too. He knew how to remove a rock, or all sorts of little things, but it was very structured. There was no guessing. He wasn't putting any additional emotion or thought into it. And he went to a trading school. And he didn't develop his own trading plan, but he went to a trading school, and they gave him a trading plan, and they gave him a checklist, and they gave him trading rules, and they told him, follow these rules and you'll be successful. And because he had the background of such a singular mindset when it came to doing his job, he was able to follow those rules totally emotionless. And he quickly went to one of the most profitable traders I'd seen. And I was just amazed by it. This wasn't a brain surgeon. In fact, sometimes I've seen, guys on the other end of the spectrum with really highly analytical jobs. A lot of times, engineers, architects, doctors in some degree, they have a hard time kind of going from highly precision to broader. When you draw your areas, it's not a point in the chart. That's going to be a range. And a lot of times these doctors and engineers, it doesn't really resonate with them. They're used to a micron of a point, and they want it to hit there. And when it comes into a range, but it doesn't hit their point, they have a hard time understanding why it's not working. But it's more of an art than a science a lot of those times. So, but having that rule set and understanding what those rules are and adapting them to your kind of how you process things. So if you're highly analytical, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. If you're somebody who's a little more rudimentary, you need a trading plan that's going to suit your strengths.
Yeah. Well, for somebody who's a little bit more, got a fire underneath them, talk a little bit about that. What is I don't know if you need to necessarily dive into every little detail, of course, but give them a little, idea of what that looks like the scalper who's like, well, I'm going to put a little bit more size behind me. Give them a kind of a general basis of what that looks like, because I think we all have an idea at this point what a conservative, trader would do, or not necessarily to the dollar cent, number as far as stop loss goes. But, if I'm taking small size, okay, I know that even if it does go and draw down, that I'm okay. But somebody who's like, I want to make my money. I want to make my money now, but I'm willing to, sit through a little bit more of that pain, so to speak. That's stuff, kind of explain that a little bit for somebody.
Yeah, of course. So everybody's got a predisposition for risk, right? So they have to take that into account when they're setting up their trading plan. And I really don't love when people, so the high risk people, right? They want to take a small account and take huge wins and double it every time they take a trade. And this is a terrible approach. Statistically, it's just not going to work out. You need to look at the model from a statistical standpoint of what your risk to reward is, what your win rate is, and you could determine how many, you can massage the numbers, what you need to hit in order to be a profitable trader. And from there, you could scale up or scale down. But starting out on, going back to, it's the process, not the profit. Right. They have to hit that process first. They have to be comfortable making those numbers, getting into those trades at a small level, and not taking those home runs. The guys who hit for home runs every time, they don't progress into profitable traders. Now, there are guys who go the other way, where they become profitable traders, and now they've They've looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of charts. They have the pedigree. They're a black belt essentially,
Right.
and they see a setup come in, and now they go from a structured trading plan to a discretionary trader because they see something there. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
These guys, by all means, they have the pedigree for it. But when a brand new trader comes in and tries to do the same thing, it's disastrous for their account every time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. And like I said, I wanted to make sure we touched on that because I think, like I said, I remember, even myself, so I know everybody else is going through their journey. You think right when, like you said, a trading strategy works, maybe you get a couple wins under your belt. You're like, oh, I got it. I'm a pro. Here we go. You know, Lambo's coming next, type
Right.
deal. But it's unfortunately the social media thing, I think, and I kind of use this, try to give people a different perspective, which is if we didn't have social media, and obviously it's not going anywhere, right? We're just getting more technically savvy. But I'm just saying that if we had the ability to kind of put the blinders on, like you had said, and focus on the process more, I think people would get a whole lot better results because they would fall in love with the process.
Absolutely.
I was not able to, get to where I was and make it to the NFL and do that for 20 years of my life because I was always looking at, sure, I always had that, wow, I want to make it here. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I just knew that I needed to show up every day and I needed to work harder than everybody else because if less than 1% make it there, then I need to be doing what less than 1% are doing, so I had to put in the extra time. And so, I think it is less is more in some instances, but I also do think that, like you said, if you come in with purpose and you've seen this a million times, if somebody's really intentional, and it right out the bat, or somebody's just kind of fooling around with the idea of I want to be a day trader, you're going to know right away. You're going to know this guy's dedicated to the craft.
Yep.
Or, he keeps telling himself that this is what he wants to do for a living, but he's like, he gets frustrated every time he blows an account, but he's got no journal. He's got, he's got nothing there.
Yeah, right. And, so a lot of times traders will come and they'll say, what can I do different? Let's talk about how I can become successful.
Yep.
As one of my goals was customer success. So I want people to be successful traders. So come to me, let's talk about it. Let's go through it. And it's not from a strategy perspective. It's going to be from a mindset perspective. And we're going to start at the beginning. Like you said, hey, tell me your trading plan. And if you can't articulate that to me in very clear terms, or you have it written down, or, you have your checklist, these people, they don't have this. They don't have any of these tangibles. I know right then, I know what they're going through right then. I know we have to go take 2 steps back. They shouldn't even be on the charts yet. They need to go back to, the very beginning. Let's get a notebook. Let's say, what times can you trade? How often can you trade? What amount of capital do you have? Are you trading in a prop account? Are you trading in an individual account? All of these things go into the mix that we have to determine what their equation is, and then we start writing from there. And it's going to be start slow. Don't worry about your losses. Let's just focus on the process. And when you become slowly consistent, now we may or we may not up the volume. Yeah. So we have to really take it individual. And like you said, we got to see who's putting in the effort, and those who are, we could help grow them. But it's a challenging game. It's like I said, it's simple, but it's not easy. You really have to have the mindset for it.
Exactly. Like you said, put the time in. I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, if again looking more at the end goal, but with the parameters here, and what I always say is like, if you want to make the kind of money that you're seeing on Instagram, now we're using that comparison analogy again. Some of these guys and gals are making more than some doctors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
In a couple hours in some instances, or in a day. Do you think that it makes sense, or do you think that you're supposed to be making that kind of capital and not be putting in the time? Meaning, I want you to treat it as like a 4-year degree,
right? It's like, or a doctorate, even. Exactly. It's not overnight. It's not overnight, and that's unfortunately, a lot of times when we look on Instagram, we see these super successful traders. We don't see all the tiers, exactly. Right? We don't see the process. We don't see what and sometimes traders are a little bit cagey with their strategy, so they just show the flash, and people are drawn to that, of course. But it's the small stuff that's so important.
Absolutely. Well, Corey, I want to switch gears a little bit here. I want to pull up my chart if you don't mind. Obviously,
yeah, please.
I'm flat this morning. Obviously, 30 and goal, which are my specialties. Are obviously moving, and so I want to see here. Let me hit share screen here. Boom. pick the US 30 chart, and then we'll jump into gold as well. Okay, can you see this?
I sure can.
Beautiful. Okay, so let me go to my actual chart. Let me back up a little bit. Let me open this bad boy up. So what I'm looking at, let's go to the weekly, and I do this every morning, and I'm breaking down, top-down analysis, of course, and you can kind of obviously walk through some of these things, for the viewers as well, because again, you've seen this a million more times than I have, but of course, these are the ones that I look at, and so we'll kind of dive right in. So I'm obviously looking at the weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, higher time frame, or the global trend, as you're familiar with. And I'm plotting my zones. So I'll kind of color coordinate them, if you will, to let you know, okay, when I run into this area, yes, in fact, this is, something I really need to be watching for. So typically I'll have, let's say the weeklies are black, here's my weekly resistance and support. So I'll kind of just walk you through what I would be doing on a live. So guys, I'm looking at this zone here. If you look left on the weekly, obviously overall consensus last 3 weeks have been printing green candles. So we're looking for bullish moves, but doesn't mean that it needs to continue to go that way. But as we dive into the more intraday moves in the 1 hour, 4 hour, really plot our supply and demand zones, which is, what I like to kind of bank my trades off of, selling off resistance, buying off supports, and once in a while continuations. These are the things that I'm looking for, but my ears, perk up when I hit these zones, and that's why I will draw these scores on the line. So I've got this 34,495, let's say, and sometimes I'll get even more exact and take off the bars, the candles, and go to lines. So I can see where obviously it opened and closed. So just using this as an example, just to give guys and gals a better look, 34,360 is going to be my resistance. And then my support, and again, it's ways down there for sure. But let's look at this zone here. This is not a bad one here. Obviously, it's not a touch. We've got a gap, but obviously it was once resistance, once a support. Let's just go at that 32,266 as a rough area. We could really come up here and get into this area too, because again, I'm just looking at what we call indecision. It was one support, once resistance. We could really put another one here at 32,868. Okay, so again, the wicks, as you know, will tell a little bit more of the tail. That obviously, comes in with price action, but let's go ahead and open the bar chart back up, the candles. And so now I've got my weeklies. Sometimes I'll put them here. Folks can jump in here, put the text, hey, we've got weekly level, 32,266, and so I've got that one marked. So I know, okay, when I dive down into a smaller time frame, I still know, oh, black, that's a weekly level, that something's going to happen here. It might reverse, it might continue, but at least I know and I'm aware. So I'm not blind to the smaller time frames. As you know, time frame correlation is huge, and staying on one time frame is not going to help you. You need to really be able to tie everything in together. And so
absolutely,
these are huge things for me. So I'm looking at this and I'll tell folks, hey, we're looking at bullish moves, but let's dive into this a little bit more. Okay, now we're on the daily, and I'm looking at the same thing. I could go down to, just the, more of the skeletal structure, but let's keep it on the bars here just for, for time's sake. And I've got a resistance and support. I've seen it hit off this level here in this zone. I've seen it use a support. I've seen it use a resistance. And I see right here it's failed a little bit. So let's put a zone here on the daily. Again, it's not moving today, but I'm going to change the color here. Let's put it a red. Okay, so now I've got a daily level here as a resistance, a support level, and all I do is I look left and I scan, and I go, this is not a bad level here. So let's put one here at 32 or 33,211. I'll put that one red. Okay, it's a bit of support. As you can see, it's hit this 1, 2, 3. Again, back to your point, it's an art, it's a range. Doesn't need to go into that zone. So these are things that I'm going to put, and I'm just trying to trade and make it, back to your point, very simple in trade zone to zone. So once it hits those levels, whether I am on an uptrend getting a higher low, and on a lower, a lower low, lower high on a, downtrend, if I can draw a trend line, if I see that my MA, EMA indicator, blue is over red, it's just giving me confluence or other reason to say, okay, yes, I should be looking for buys or maybe looking for sells in this particular instance. So I go down to the 4 hour, and, I'll let you kind of jump in here and kind of critique these things too. So as I told folks today, I said, look, obviously we're not getting much movement today at all because we're in Good Friday, but I'm waiting. As you see, I have, the eclipse, tool, bull and bear here, push it back up, got another touch, almost a third touch, but I'd like to see a little bit more. So we'll see what happens here. But more importantly, I want to see this push back down, hit this support, and then come on up maybe into its highs. Obviously it doesn't look like much, but we're on the 4-hour candle. So from this area range up to here, as you can see, it's 201 points. I'm not looking for all that in one swipe, but I am trying to, if I'm able to mitigate my risk, put my stop loss. I'm going to bring out the trend line here so you can see.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about how you plan to manage the risk.
Absolutely. So again, I'm trying to keep it very, very simple. I'm going to put the stop loss underneath this, this horizontal, or excuse me, this, horizontal trend line here. Anything above that is going to be buys. Anything below that is going to be sells. So if I see, I'm going to bring out the drawing tool here. So here's our scenarios. And like you said, you have to be aware of all your different possibilities and opportunities. 3 things the market can do, right? It can go up, we can go bullish, we can go bearish, or we can consolidate, or like what I like to call the jet ski zone, right? It just bounces, can turn on a dime. And I hate those because it gives everybody headaches. And so let's say it pulls down here, it hits this zone, beautiful. I would look for an entry on a smaller time frame, like the 5 or 15, for bullish engulfings, because I'm looking for buys. So for that bull or that green candle to swallow up a small, almost like what I like to consider like a Pac-Man, it should really close over that on that particular time frame zone and then push on up into this. Now, if it breaks below this, comes down here, this is why I have my stop loss tight just beneath the trend line that I've drawn. It should come here. Before I look for any sells, I want it to come and retest this area as a resistance and then continue on the way down to now its new lows. So these are the things that I'm looking for, or it could sit in here and just kind of bounce around, but I'm going to wait, and on a smaller time frame, here we go. Now you can kind of see on the 1 hour, oops, excuse me, let me get off the tool here. On a smaller time frame, you get to see, okay, well, this thing can push down, like I said, hit this area. Let's bring out a long position here. I would put it right in here, try to take this, get right underneath this. I don't have to risk a lot at all, and see if, like you said, my synopsis or my analysis is correct. And if I see this thing break below and it's coming with some volume and it wants to push out, I'm okay, like you said, logically, and this is good for our viewers today, logically, I'm okay, and I have made the decision that 46 points below that particular position on this particular setup, if I lose that, it is what it is. Right. It doesn't, I'm not going to throw the laptop. I'm not going to break
of course.
the phone, type deal. And that's huge because people don't realize the kind of emotional tax it takes on folks when you have not calculated how big this 46 point, loss is, depending on your size, as you're familiar with. So it's like, I have accepted this. If I want to be tighter, I can be tighter. But typically I'm trying to risk anywhere between, maybe 1/4%, maybe 0.5% if it's more of like an A plus setup. And like you said, I go at it case by case, but I'm looking for a healthy risk to reward ratio. This one right here, obviously, which this is going to allow me to give it more room because as you see, I'm only 26 pips stop loss. Let's open it up a little bit because as you see right here on the risk to reward ratio in the box, I'm already at a 5-to-1, which is beautiful.
Right.
So let's open it up.
You got room.
Exactly. I got room to work. So even if I had it down here, I'm almost at a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio. As you know, solid. I'm going for 199 points. Doesn't mean that needs to happen in 5 minutes, but those are the targets that I'm looking to shoot for while my risk is down there. So, typically I'm looking to draw my zones, my supply and demand zones. And if it's a sell, just to kind of give you the other side of the coin, then I'm going to put a short here. All right, let's get that. Let's put it right in here. And same exact thing. I'm going to have the stop loss right above the above the trend line. So if it puts back over it, then I'm out of the position. I'm okay with it. Logically, I feel good about it. I lost 0.5%, 1%. Obviously, in this particular, risk, this is 92 points, almost 1%. So let's bring it down a little bit. And I'm just waiting for it to hit that. If it blows past, it is what it is. I look for the next setup. But I think if you can kind of speak on this stuff, it's very important for people to understand. It's not, if you get stopped out, that's not the last setup. You're almost telling yourself
that's something I've found so many times is people get married to setups. And this is something that's, it really leads to big problems in their trading. How much time did you spend to learn what you just did. You spent a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
And so, sometimes, we have hard times finding the levels. For whatever reason, we put a little more emotional energy into the setup than we should. And essentially, we get married to it. And now, it's not going our way, and we start hoping and praying, and we start adding to the losing position, where if we had a very structured set of rules that said, when XYZ happens, we get out, or when XYZ happens, we take our profit, when XYZ happens, it's, we get out after a certain amount of time, whatever your rules are. And now you go to the next setup, because there's always going to be another setup. And that's one of the things that people have an issue with. They've spent so much time on it. They've got so much invested in it. I'm just going to hope that it works out, where they should have cut their losses long ago and gone on to the next one, because you got to be comfortable in your skills to draw those lines, to find those support and resistance. That art we spoke about earlier, you have to be comfortable in that. And once you are, and you get more confident in your drawing tools and your analysis of the chart, laying your lines down, now you don't have to marry a setup. They're all the same. So becoming more comfortable with the charts and finding your zones is going to be a way for somebody to propel themselves very quickly towards not marrying those setups. It doesn't mean you're going to be profitable, but not marrying a setup is going to alleviate a lot of heartache.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, not marrying the trade and conserving your capital, right? Being able to swing, be there for the next trading day, and not say, oh my gosh, now I have to get another audition, or whatever the case may be. Staying in the game, giving yourself another opportunity to get in. Yeah, I mean, I drew this arrow here to the side as you were talking, and this right here, as I highlight this box, so I've got the arrow, that number right there, as you know, and obviously a healthy stop loss that I've already decided logically before I ever enter a trade are the two most important numbers, right?
Right.
Risk to reward ratio and my risk management, making sure that if it hits this zone, I'll be all right. I'm not risking this.
Yeah. Yep.
And going, well, let's see what happens. Well, that's not very smart.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's things like that. And I wanted to pull up the chart here. That way we could kind of dive into it, because I think folks need to understand they need to build themselves an edge, which obviously, like you said, comes with the journaling, comes with the trading plan. And when they find something, back to your, you hit it beautifully, which is it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You've got to swing at the things that,
right. Well, what you just laid out there, for somebody who's done it a long time, is not an overly complicated layout. So this is something that anybody can do. You had you articulated it easily what you were doing. It's repeatable. You could do it every day. You know where your entries are. You know where your exits are. Those are the ingredients of a successful trader. So you're right on. You're doing it, and everybody should take this away, that it might not look exactly like yours. It might be simpler, it might be more complex, but if it's something that they're comfortable with, that's repeatable, and that they could make inferences off of it, those are the types of trading strategies and trading plans that are going to be long term.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Corey, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. If you have anything else you want to add, or kind of leave them with a message, feel free to do that. Where can they find you?
They can find me on. They can find me email Corey.Andrews@SurgeTrader. They can find me on Instagram, bizdev, biz.dev, bezdev.SurgeTrader. And then, of course, they can find me on the website as well. There's affiliates tab up at the top. All my contact info is in there. And I'd be happy to walk anybody through the process, get anybody set up. Or if you just have general questions, trading questions, I love chatting with traders. So give us a ring, and we'll get you squared away.
Beautiful. Corey, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. You're always
you too, Julian. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. And hope you have a great Good Friday, and then obviously have a blessed Easter here coming up.
You too, sir. Thank you so much. All the best.
Have a